This episode of Invent America Radio is brought to you by America's Inventor Lady and HomeTalkUSA. HomeTalk is a proud member of the King Broadcasting Network and has been bringing you the best of America's home-based product innovation since 1998.
Broadcasting and streaming live all across America. This is HomeTalkUSA. Join us this hour for our segment Invent America with your co-host Rita Crompton. Discover what's next for new products and innovations. Or if you have that next great big idea, learn what it takes to bring your invention to the world. As let Rita Crompton talk to America's inventors and innovators. Remember, the America of tomorrow is being invented today.
Hello, America, and welcome to Invent America, because America invents. Hey, America, thanks so much for being with us for this episode of Invent America, because America invents. We have been doing it for centuries, and we will continue to do it for centuries more. And this is where we try to give inventors that advice. I mean, there is so much really bad stuff out there, and we want to be able to give you the right information so you can make the right steps. And one of the things that we run into all the time, and my first guest is going to go over this with me, and sometimes it makes us laugh, Fantasyland, because an inventor comes up with an idea and they think, oh my God, I'm going to go buy an island. And, the reality check is, oh yeah, you get to keep your house. So, that I don't mean to make that sound quite so harsh, because there is, between Fantasyland and reality check, there's Happy Land. And that means you get your product to the marketplace successfully and you're making sales. But holy cow, it can be a real roller coaster ride, right, George? Mm-hmm. So George Peters is the president of New England Invents and a longtime inventor himself. And he went through a few Fantasylands and reality checks, didn't you, George?
They're burned in my memory forever, Rita. I can tell you that. So,
all right. So, you've got two products out there. KettlePizza is your most famous product. So share with our inventors how you dealt with fantasy, got to the reality, and ended up in Happy Land, because you are sold all over the world.
Well, one of the things that certainly I run into with New England Invents, and just by way of reference, when your first patent award is awarded on April Fool's Day in 2003, like mine was, should have been a big red flag that I was in for quite a ride going forward. So
there you go.
Back in 2003. And since then, I've been blessed to be able to help, hundreds of people and listen to them and speak places. And it always comes down to the fantasy part. It's never been done before. So because I haven't seen it. And I just ask everybody, I said, well, have you seen everything? And have you been everywhere? And you haven't? Well, I don't see it online. And everybody thinks because they haven't seen it online that it doesn't exist, or more importantly, that it doesn't already hold a patent. And there's a lot of reasons why products don't come to market that are patented. And as many as I do, Rita. And that's the biggest fantasy that I try to have people overcome with, because that fantasy is fueled by people around them, well-meaning people, family and friends, that don't want to hurt their feelings and tell them, yeah, that's a great idea. As you know, the reality comes when you ask somebody, well, did they tell you how much they would buy it for? Well, no. I said, well, that's where the reality comes in.
Yep. One of the areas that we run into frequently is inventors don't realize that if it's been done anywhere in the world, they go, well, I don't want to sell all over the world. I just want to sell in America. It's like, but the idea is that if the product has been done anywhere in the world, you will not be granted a U.S. patent. And so they get frustrated with the idea, well, we find one in Finland, or we find one in South Africa or someplace else, and realize that it's now part of the public domain. And even though that product may not be sold in America, you won't get to file a patent. So, part of it too is that you don't have to have a patent to go to market, but you need the patent to negotiate.
I've been in many rooms, and on the other side of the table, they start with a couple of questions. They ask you if you had a good trip, and then you hold up your item and they say, do you have a patent for that? Well, if you say yes, they offer you a coffee after that to stay longer. If you say no, they usually start looking at their watch. And that's not a good sign when you're in a room with somebody who might be a buyer or someone that looking to license your intellectual property. If you answer, yes, I have a patent and I've been selling a few and they're going great, well, then they offer to take you to lunch. So
Right.
it's very important that it's like building a house. Good location,
I always tell
foundation.
people the first conversation with a potential licensee is about 15 seconds. They want to know, what problem did you solve? How did you solve it? Did you use a registered patent attorney? And can we make it at a price the consumer will pay? If the answer to those 4 questions are the right answer, you get now 15 minutes of their time. So, it goes by pretty fast. And I had a lady that I talked to a few months ago now, and she said, "Oh, my investor's so excited. They said we'll earn $30 million in the first year." It's like, you'll be lucky to have product to sell in the first year.
Yeah, that's the big island of fantasy.
Oh yeah, no kidding.
And also, Rita, and we've looked at thousands of products. I ask people just 3 things: is it better, easier, or safer? Your idea, because you're probably going to be going off of something that's already been created. So to be able to take it further, I said B's. Just remember the B's: better, easier, or safer. And if you can overcome those, your chances start to increase. It doesn't make it a slam dunk, but you start to get more then into the reality of the situation. And what I ran into early in my career is that the newbie inventor, and I didn't do it, I suffered for it greatly, is you don't put a budget to your idea. It's like going to the casino when they say don't bring more money than you intend and can afford to lose. So if you put $1,000 on it or $5,000 and you burn through that quite fast, and that's the limit that you have, I always urge people to make sure that they don't go past that, because then you're running on really fantasy, and it takes if you have the means, wonderful. If you're single, that's even better. And I mean that only that you'll be the only one that will, really have the consequences of spending money that you don't have. And I've certainly been guilty of that.
It's easier for me to work with an inventor who's got a limited budget than it is for me to work with an inventor who calls me and says, "I've spent all my money. Now what?"
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, I needed you, 18 months ago when we could stretch it out and get every ounce out of every single penny, because there are ways to squeeze the dollar. And, there's things that you shouldn't spend money on yet. And then there's things you should absolutely not do in the beginning, because it wastes a lot of money when you don't even know if you've got something yet. The steps are really critical to being able to get a product to market. And the USPTO changes their protocols on a fairly regular basis. And so what you heard, 3 or 4 years ago may no longer be the case. I mean, for a long time, the old story was, well, just, write out your idea and mail it to yourself and never open it. And that stands as then basically your provisional patent application. It shows that you invented it. But no, not anymore, because we went to a first to file country instead of a first to invent country. And so for those inventors, who thought that they were protecting themselves, nope, not anymore. And so we really look at, and watch how those things change, but it can change, in a heartbeat, and the inventor may not even realize it. And they're assuming things inaccurately and, getting ready to buy that island in Fantasyland, and not realize the reality check is coming around to get them.
Yeah. And Rita, there are clubs like your club, your inventor club up here in New England. And you've heard the same thing, is that I wish we found you, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
And yes, it's a heartbreaking one for a lot of people that I've dealt with. I've been doing this for 25 years, and it's very important that people, if they don't know, get to some resources of a local inventors club. We're fortunate that we've been around a long time. We turned ourselves into a nonprofit about a year and a half ago, and it was a great move for us because it kind of put the line in the sand for us. Is that we want to look after our members, even people that aren't members of New England Events. We help them. We don't want to get them going down the path without letting them know that they might be going in the wrong direction. And many people that, even you, Rita, and myself, you don't hear from those people again because they understand how difficult the journey it is when you're not reading those road signs.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. So, all right, George, we are going to be taking a break here and going off to pay some bills because we have to pay some bills too. And, I know you're going to be coming back on as we kind of wrap this up. And we've got two inventors who are going to join us. They're going to share some of their reality checks and their, fantasy land stuff. And so we're going to, share directly with you from the inventors who've been down the path and they've seen the road signs change. So everyone stick with us. We will be back here in just a couple of minutes. Hey, everybody, thanks so much for being with us. We are going through the process of inventing and talking with some of our inventors, about, we kind of laugh about it, say Fantasyland versus reality check. And every inventor has been on one side of that pendulum swing or the other, and frequently multiple times. So my next guest is Russell Kramer. I've known Russell for years. He has got multiple products in the marketplace, multiple patents filed, doing some great work. The one we're talking about today is copper microbe stopper because we want to let people know it's out there, especially, Michael King's got COVID. There's another variant going around. Yucky germs everywhere. Russell has invented a product that can be specifically tailored to fit on different surfaces, door handles at schools, doorknobs, on a bus. Not necessarily the knobs, but the handle that you reach for. Well, copper is a natural fighter of those bacteria and stuff. So Russell knows a lot more about the science of this because he's done the science. But really cool product. And in this day and age, there is going to be a new something coming around on a regular basis that everybody wants to go, ooh, don't touch that. So Russell, tell everybody about copper microbe stopper.
Well, you did a good job already, Rita. It is a flexible coverings for a wide variety of high-touch surface area made of copper or copper alloys, as you mentioned, for daycare centers and a variety of doorknobs. And it's flexible and can be customized, custom ordered, for large institutions with thousands of the same doorknob and so on. And I've made working prototypes. I've seen competition out there, but the competition doesn't have the ability to go on irregular surfaces. And yet, so I know the competition means that there's a market out there as well. And so that it's well positioned.
That is a really good point that you bring up, because having something that's better, you don't have to pay all the money to educate the buying public that you solved a problem they didn't know they had. So when somebody's gone out there with a product in the same industry and now you come up with a better way of doing it, they're already aware and the product is out there. But having a better way, a safer way, a less expensive way of doing the fix is a good thing. So, with our topic today, as far as that, Fantasyland versus the reality check. So what was your first Fantasyland that got knocked over by reality check?
Well, I've been at this a while, and as far as this invention, I've been a member of the Inventors Association in New England Invents for a long time. So they help kind of wring out the fantasies from my brain quite a bit. So I have an advantage. And so, but one of the fantasies that I've been dealing with and that's been contradicted is things will go easy at the patent office.
Yeah, that's true.
And so that's a little fantasy, and that I never really had the fantasy that as soon as you get a patent that someone's going to come knocking at your door, but there will be people, but it's not good people. It's those leeches that try to come after your money. They'll come knocking at your door. But, that's a fantasy that can happen quite a bit. And that, that I can get out of this, without investing too much or, things like that. And so I think the big fantasy is that, it's not that I had to have a patent to have someone knock on my door, but I didn't have to do anything else. And that, you do have to get it out there, and you do have to get working prototypes. And if you can start selling them, great, so that, that there's a big follow-up that really has to happen.
Yeah. And I think you made a really good point, is that when you are part of a group where you go and you can ask the questions, you're going to learn a lot more. And a lot of times the groups will help, give you the reality check on the right steps, so that you're not dreaming about making millions of dollars right away, but you have a much better idea on the steps to take and what to do, so that eventually you might be able to get to happy land without having to, sell your car.
Yeah. And then I guess I got to move along. And so the last question, I think, has to do with what would I recommend for other inventors?
Yeah.
And that would just be that, start off, we were told at the Inventors Group, just start off with small, simple to design products that don't take up a lot of shelf space or a lot of capital investment. Most inventors don't have a big budget, so don't try to invent the next IBM computer or something. Try to keep things simple but effective, and George's advice of better, safer, and so on, but try to keep your inventions simple. And thanks a lot, Rita.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us as we talk about Fantasyland versus Reality Check. And George, Russell's been a member of New England Invents for years. So what is, the groups? How do the groups help inventors miss important details?
Well, I can tell you from seeing Russell's product that he was talking about earlier, we have 6 or 7 times a year, we would meet with all experienced inventors. We'd meet in private. We'd record the group, and you got a chance to pitch your idea in front of people who have been through the ringer, been through the process, and you get immediate feedback. I often tell people that when I wanted something said good about my product or something I was working on, I'd show it to my mom, because no matter how bad it was, she always said it looked great, no matter what. But then you show it to people who really could give you, and we weren't ever, I've showed product within the group of, at the time, Inventors Association, but you get really good feedback from people who aren't meant to hurt your feelings. They're meant from really trying to prevent you from getting blown up if you go down further with the product. So I'd rather have my feelings hurt than a car wreck later on. And that's very true. That's very important for people to understand that. Get yourself to a group that you can feel comfortable with. They're like-minded people. They think like you. They look at things that way. They're not going to embarrass you. They're there to help you. And we've been doing that for a long time.
Well, and a lot of inventors, they're going to want your opinion when they get teed up and ready to go. And those groups, it's like the Inventors Roundtable, New England Invents. There's a lot of different groups. Ours are virtual meetings. So anybody in America, you don't have to be by a city, rural America, everywhere, can log in. And, we do videos, so you can show your products in and get some of that feedback. And inventors are going to ask better questions than your mother. They're going to ask better questions than, even your friends. If when they don't want to hurt your feelings. So they want you to be able to, give honest information. So anyway, we've got another inventor coming up who's going to talk about her Fantasyland versus Reality Check. And we are grateful. So stick with us, America. And we're going to be giving you the information you need to go out there and invent successfully. everybody. Welcome to Invent America, because in America invents. And my next guest is Lynn Mors, and she has invented a product called Fencing Life Extenders. She has been doing security and compliance audits for several different companies, assisted living to the corporate giants, as well as testing facilities. So, Lynn, thanks so much for being with us today. Tell our listeners a little bit about yourself.
I also work for the post office, used to carry mail, and now I'm working in the maintenance and custodial department at the plant. Lived in 4 states, so I'm just, working it out. And
all right. So tell us about Fencing Life Extenders. What is it?
It is a metal fence post holder, designed to look like a wrought iron fence post holder to kind of match those really pretty gates, so that your who thinks I'm rich aunt really wants it, and so that your not so rich uncle can afford it was the plan. And but to hold your fence post up to 6 feet, a real 6-foot post above the ground, just a little bit above the ground, so that it doesn't rot in the ground, and so that insects don't eat it all up in the ground. And so it's also easier to replace should you need to, because you just attach it there. It makes it kind of easier to install. Metal reinforces concrete, so you don't have to use quite as much concrete, and you don't have to redig the hole either, unless something catastrophic happens to your fence. So,
wonderful. Excellent.
Yeah,
so share, sticking with our topic today of Fantasyland versus reality check, share with our listeners kind of your biggest surprise in, this crazy process.
My biggest surprise is kind of a conglomeration of the marketing and the industry together, because getting into the industry is so difficult with fencing, even though I thought I was already in because I've built fences and things like that, but you're not in. So,
no, you're not.
The marketing, the marketing, the company that I went with to do my product, the patent and everything, and I'm not going to say their name or anything right now. They came at me marketing to me, them, like fast and furious, every day phone call, every week. When they found out what days I got paid, I'm telling you, it was twice that day that they would call. They marketed themselves to me really intently. And so I thought when we were talking about marketing and this is and that's what they're going to do, that they actually meant what they said, and then they didn't do that. They didn't do for me what they did for themselves to me.
Right.
And not by, not even close. And that
it's one of those invention promotion companies, and we've had programs about them that we put them on the scoundrel list, because exactly, you are their business model, not getting the product to market. And for a lot of inventors, they do run into that. Just like you're saying, is that, all kinds of promises get made, but they're marketing them to you. It's like I get inventors that say, well, I'm going to go to this trade show for inventors. It's like, don't go to that one. It's a feeding frenzy, and you're the main course. Go to the one for your industry, so you're talking to the people who could actually be reselling your product.
Yeah, and by the time that I've called, like I've gone and marketed myself in other ways and contests or whatever, I'm so out of money because, my the post office didn't pay their rural carriers, and then I hit my head and was out of work for a little while because I bounced off the concrete. I did lose my home, so I just don't have the money to do all these things at the moment, and I don't know how to crowdfund and all that. And they all want money. Everybody wants money to help you. Then it's just like,
it's tough. And so, all right. So what's next for you, Lynn? Where are you trying to get to?
Where am I trying to get to? If I I've showed my product and I've done the research I know that it will sell. I know for a fact it will sell. I know that I've got people that want it. I've got installers that want to install it. And I just don't have, the people that have the money to invest, or to pre-order or anything like that. And I don't even know how I can manufacture it the cheapest way, because I can get anybody to talk to me. So what's next is to just keep pushing forward with it as best as I can until I get to where I need to get, and just keep trying. And then, because I have so much more to go with this, once I get it started, I can continue on with the whole concept of the whole fence for it that I have, and then moving forward, so because there's more to it than just this piece of it. I just have to get this piece going to get the rest of it going.
Honey, you're in what we refer to as the Valley of Despair. That because there's a lot of inventors who land down there. You should be able to wave at a few. So the website is fencinglifeextenders.com. So if you're interested in
if that works. If that website even works, because they've jacked me around so much, I don't know that works, but the YouTube video does work. So if you use that link, you can see it there. And
we've got the website, so people can actually go then and see what you've got. And anyone that out there that is interested might have some good ideas on contacts, and so we'll let you know. And a lot of inventors, I'll get inventors that call me all the time and say, what's next? Because I heard you on the radio. And I've had potential licensing companies actually call and say, I need their contact information. We heard it on the radio, and we are listening. And George, the gentleman who is going to be on and wrapping this up with us in a few minutes, he said, you know what, I need to give you his phone number, and you can give him a call, and he will see if he can't give you some ideas. So, Lynn, we wish you the best of luck. I will be in touch with you. Today's Monday, probably later in the week, maybe next week. And be able to do some kind of some brainstorming with you and see what some of the options are. Because
you haven't been so much about
licensing. Have you thought about licensing?
I just, like I said, I've just not been able to get people to talk to me because it's just been so difficult and stuff. And I'm finally getting somewhere, like in the steel manufacturing places and stuff, and getting to talk to people, and like there's a college in Arkansas that will give me some actual physical prototypes for a fairly reasonable price. So I'm getting somewhere on my own.
Well, honey, when you get ready to, seriously talk about licensing, I want to talk to you as well, because when you license it, somebody else makes it, sells it, sends you a check.
Yeah.
And that is where most investors want to get to. So thank you for being on today. We need to take a quick break and go and pay some bills, and we'll be right back to wrap up with our great colleague, George Peters. Hang in there, everybody. We'll be right back.
How would you like to get a free smartphone? If you own a smartphone, listen to this incredible offer that's almost too good to be true. Right now, you can switch your plan and get service with us for as little as $2 a day. Guaranteed for life. Plus, get a free smartphone every year. Call the free smartphone hotline now and we'll move your number from your existing service. Think of your savings. So don't wait. Switch your plan, save money, plus get a free smartphone every year. Call the free smartphone hotline right now. We guarantee you're going to love our service. If you don't like what we say, you can hang up on us. But you won't. Right now, you can switch your plan and get service with us for as little as $2 a day. Guaranteed for life. Call the free smartphone hotline right now. 800-339-0930. 800-339-0930. 800-339-0930. That's 800-339-0930.
Tired of struggling just for your customers to notice you? Your business needs Constant Contact. Constant Contact's award-winning marketing platform has helped millions of small businesses stand out, stay top of mind, and see big results. With powerful tools like email, SMS, social media, and events, you'll say the right thing at the right time to sell more, raise more, and fast-track growth. Plus, everything's backed by Constant Contact's expert live customer support. So get going and growing with Constant Contact today. Try it free at ConstantContact.com.
Hey America, this is Rita Crompton wrapping up this hour of Invent America. So, but George, what is the wrap up and information that we can give to inventors on, Fantasyland is great if you're reading Harry Potter, but the reality check is frequently the money is tight. It takes twice as long, costs twice as much, and it's you've got to be really careful because there are a lot of predators out there that are certainly willing to take a big bite. So, give our listeners some information.
I can tell you just from my experience, certainly Al Contarino, who was the brains around. Al had the idea for KettlePizza, and KettlePizza, as you mentioned before, is a product we sold in more than 70 countries. KettlePizza was simple. We turned charcoal and gas grills into pizza ovens, but we went through quite a few iterations early on of prototypes ourselves to try to get it right. We burned a lot of pizzas. Doing through the prototypes and things. But we had to prove it to ourselves first. That proof of concept, Rita, which you've talked about many times, that proof of concept of the idea has to be proven to yourself and to others that what you have is viable. Long before you get into, okay, what can we make it for? But that proof of concept is very important. That's the reality check for you, because if you can't get by the proof of concept that your product can be made for a price that someone wants to buy it, it can be made for a cost that someone wants to license it. Your product will not look the same when you first do it, when it gets ready for merchandising. That's what the professionals do. That's what you know how to do. They know how to package it correctly, price it correctly, put it where the consumer can buy it easily. That's a skill set that a lot of inventors do not have. And the quicker that you understand what you don't possess as a skill and stick to what you do have, which is creating the ideas and then finding the experts that can take it from there for you, it will save you probably thousands and thousands of hours, and even more of that in money. Inventors should stick to what we're good at. We do the better, easier, safer, and then get it into the hands of the pros that can sell it. And inventors, and I include myself in this, are not usually good business people. They're not. My brain is not wired for that. I want to create. You say administration to me and things like that, and I want to run in front of traffic.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that admin stuff. I want to get the creation stuff and get it into the people who know how to navigate that very busy highway, which is the consumer. So
right.
The consumer will decide whether your product is successful or not.
Well, and the easy part is coming up with the idea, the prototype, the patent. The hard part's marketing. What's the message that you're going to get out there to somebody? What's going to make them open their wallet? And some folks don't realize how important packaging is until they get down and how much it adds to the cost of the product.
Merchandising, marketing, money. The other three M's on the other side of the invention world. And you and I know them very well. That's where those experts, the people on that side, put food on their family's table, put their kids through college because they know how to do that. What they don't know how to do is what we do, is come up with that better, easier, and safer. There's always a chain right through the life cycle of a product, just like the life cycle of life. There are people that I can't remember the last time I self-diagnosed myself and was correct when I went to the doctor, and they said, "Yeah, what college did you go to, and when did you become a doctor?" But I have doctors that ask me about my world and developing a product. So know what you're good at, stay in your lane as being an inventor, and look for the resources. And there are resources that we call them on the good side of the line, Rita. You know that the dark side of our business is unregulated. There really is. There's nobody that we can turn to except other groups or other people that we can trust, and you can get real-time information from them about your idea, about your product, or about where are you on the path of the inventor's journey, because it can be a long one.
Yes. Yeah, there's nothing fast about it. It's easy to become a victim of one of the scoundrel companies. So what we try to do is, invent America, because it gets the information out there. It gets a lot of inventors asking questions then. They can go to one of the local meetings. They can go to Inventors Roundtable. It's kind of like the call-in version of the show, and gather the information. And we have met some amazing service providers. Holy cow, there's not a single inventor I've talked to that knew about it. And we are pushing that out there all over the place. So if you've got questions and you're wondering about the R&D tax credit, you are wondering about fulfillment, you're wondering about packaging, just, what are the first steps? A good law firm. Holy cow, that's so important. So call us, get in touch, fill out the ninja form if you want to be on the show. But we want to make sure that all of our sponsors, all of the people who have participated, know how much we appreciate them. And George, I want to thank you for being on today, because we're going to be wrapping this up here. And, just being able to get all the information out there for our inventors is critical to their success and to not be taken advantage of.
Even lawyers, when they get in trouble, take a lawyer into them to court. To think you can do it yourself is not the way to go. Get a good law firm. Mors is for us, a manufacturing company that understands it. And these are things that usually we have vetted, and you have vetted, Rita, for years. We're not going to pass someone on to somebody that we haven't vetted, that we even haven't used, or know somebody that has used them, that we can talk responsibly about how they're going to treat you. Absolutely.
I know we've got attorneys that we have used for years. They've got really good records. One of them was actually an examiner for the USPTO. He knows the process. So if you need a service provider, you give me a call, and be with us next week when we are actually going to talk about, that investor. We get inventors all the time that say, well, I've got an investor. It's like, you know what? That's a tough hill to climb as well, and frequently, involves a fantasy. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We will be back next week with more stories on getting products from mind to market. We will have new inventors and industry experts. So join us and have a wonderful week.